want to welcome you to this episode of the Retro Rogues Live. My name is Dave Beatty. I'm one of your hosts. For nearly the last 30 years, I've been a professional illustrator and graphic designer. Worked on some fun stuff some people have heard of, things like Batman, Justice League, X-Men. Anyhow, in various capacities, mostly as an artist. I've also self-published a lot of things I'm very proud of, such as my creator-owned series, Bushy Tales, and also my current labor of love, Red Skirts, which you can actually read online on the fun interwebs. I want to welcome back my fellow co-host, or my co-host. This is Mr. Eric Alexander. Eric, please tell the folks either watching or listening at home some of the fun things you've worked on as a creative professional.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I am Eric Alexander, otherwise known as Base God 14, Base God 14. I am the Chief Financial Officer of Bad Bob Productions, which is a small film production company in Arizona. And I am also the associate producer for the feature film Occupants, featuring Star Trek Voyager actor Robert Picardo, and currently streaming on Tubi.
Very cool. So, as usual, we start the show off here with our pop culture news segment. Whatever fun things are happening in the world of pop culture news. Boy, do we have some interesting stuff to talk about tonight. Please, Eric, why don't you lead us off with something, and then I'll lead off with something, and then maybe you'll lead off with something, and then I'll probably take us down a dark path with something I found on the internet.
A dark path, you say? All right, let me pull up the article that I wanted to. Okay. So this is something that has been heavily talked about by the people on the fandom menace. And I actually got a different, not necessarily a different perspective. Well, he's not fandom menace. So I got a perspective here from someone who is not fandom menace, but is talking about this particular issue. So this is from Buzzfeed News. Let's see. This article is dated January 7th, written by Ryan Roderick. This is the title. The Star Wars misinformation hell is the new future of everything. It says, get ready for a world run by warring online communities completely lost in their own misinformation. Warning, this post contains spoilers for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Yes, we are going to probably talk about some spoilers for Rise of Skywalker in this particular article. I'm not going to go through the entire article, but I am going to go through this first part just so we know we're on the same page here. And I'm not sure if you're even aware of this particular story, Dave, so I'm going to get your reaction, I guess, of whether you've heard anything about this or not. So last week, a post on the Saltier Than Crate subreddit, a forum that started as a place for Star Wars fans to pick apart 2017's The Last Jedi, caused an eruption. Written by a user named Ego Shop, or Ego Shoppy, however you pronounce that, the message claimed director JJ Abrams' original cut of The Rise of Skywalker was 40 minutes longer than the film's 2-hour, 22-minute theatrical runtime, and contained a large chunk of material that would have made some fans happier, including a scene featuring actors Hayden Christensen and Samuel L. Jackson reprising their roles to help fellow Jedi Rey defeat the resurrected Emperor Palpatine. Why would Disney, the media conglomerate that brought the science fiction franchise from its creator George Lucas in 2012, cut huge chunks out of Abrams' final cut? According to Ego Shoppy, the reasons were twofold: to make the film more palatable to the Chinese government and to damage the professional reputation of Abrams, whom Warner Brothers was courting to work on films set in the DC Comics cinematic universe, which includes characters like Batman and Superman. Marvel's biggest threat is a well-operational DC. They want to keep DC in the limbo that they're in right now, the post reads. Abrams jump-starting that franchise with something like a successful, audience-pleasing Superman movie makes them nervous. Their goal is to make JJ look bad to potential investors and shareholders. The post inflamed long-running Star Wars fandom paranoia that Disney had been using social media to manipulate fans. In it, Ego Shop, or Ego Shoppy, however you pronounce it, warns that all previous leaks about The Rise of Skywalker were shared by users tied to Disney directly. Fans have accused Disney of molding social media for years. It was impossible for Redditors to ascertain whether Ego Shoppy was telling the truth, trolling for fun, or lying to help Abrams, whose film was faced with critical and fan backlash. Regardless, Release the JJ Cut trended on Twitter as fans pieced together links and quotes from the cast, screenwriters, and directors that seemed to prove a different cut of The Rise of Skywalker existed. So, Dave, have you heard about this story?
I have heard that there's additional material involving Palpatine that was left out of the film, and I've heard that on different places. I have no idea if it's legit or not. I'm pretty sure there is stuff on the cutting room floor because there's always stuff on the cutting room floor.
Of course.
The long and the short of it is, I don't think a 3-hour Rise of Skywalker would have helped the film, Disney, Star Wars, JJ Abrams, anybody. I don't know if 40 more minutes of that film would have made that much of a difference. And to be honest, I mean, if there is that much material, which I can't imagine there is, but if there is that much material sitting around, the reason that it's sitting around the cutting room floor is because, a 3-hour movie just, I don't think it would have done very well at the box office. A lot of people wouldn't have gone to see it. I think it would have been too long. It was already too long, in my opinion, as it was. So
that's a good point. That's a good point.
And as far as the, Star Wars misinformation, misinformation has been existing about stuff forever. Just wait until we get into the news article I want to talk about today. I want to talk about misinformation. So it's everywhere. I guess the thing is, internet's, and this is going to be maybe kind of a dig on us a little bit too, but the internet has given everyone a right to an opinion. And you have to choose who you're going to listen to, who you're going to trust. If it's someone you don't know, someone you're not familiar with, and someone who you don't particularly enjoy following or whatever, or someone who leads you down the wrong path or is constantly courting misinformation every time you turn around, which we'll get into that thing later because that's supposed to be a reputable source, you just have to stop listening to them. You have to choose. There's a lot of stuff I don't pay any attention to on the internet. I see all the time. I recently shut down a lot of my social media just because I was just sick of just seeing this nonstop litany of just nonsense from all over the globe about everything, not just Star Wars. I mean, everything. So you're going to have to decide as a viewer, as a listener, as a hopefully a conscious, mindful entity on the face of the planet Earth walking around. You're going to have to choose who you want to listen to and who you want to trust, because misinformation is not going away anytime soon. I think the genie's already out of the bottle. So that's kind of my opinion on this. But I think this misinformation hell, it already exists. It's been around for a long time. Look at the Snyder Cut stuff. I mean, it's just this nonstop thing. And I don't believe JJ Abrams is going to save Superman or DC. Give me a break.
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second either. That's one of the main things that I see in the post where I'm like, okay, this does not sound like somebody who actually is a true insider. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the idea that JJ is going to save DC, which quite frankly, I don't think DC really needs any saving. What we're going to see is Wonder Woman 84 is going to be critical to the health of DC. But we have to remember Aquaman was a huge hit. So yeah. DC right now, just on the path they're on, they're fine. The question is things like Suicide Squad, the new Batman, how are they going to play out? And again, I think Wonder Woman 84 is critical to the future of DC. But in terms of this article and what it's talking about, there are kind of two different aspects to it. On one side, it's just sort of the face value of this particular story, of this Reddit post, and whether this person is credible or not. Are they giving us factual information or not? Is any of this actually true? I think a lot of it is probably maybe half-truths. It's hard to know whether this is somebody that is truly some kind of insider or not. What's interesting about that is I recently saw a video by that Junkman. Are you familiar with Junkman at all?
A little bit. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, but a little bit.
So Junkman's interesting because Junkman is I think it's fair to say he's pretty much like a Star Wars super fan. He doesn't like to get overly critical. I've engaged with him a lot on Twitter with my perspectives, and I always try to be respectful with him. And we actually have a pretty good back and forth where we're very respectful going back and forth because he gets sick of a lot of the criticism because he's just like, I'm a fan. I like the movies. I like Star Wars. He's a big collector. That's what his channel's, a lot of his channel's about, is collecting. And he just kind of has more of a, I would say more of kind of like a surface perspective on Star Wars. He just kind of likes it. You know what I mean? And he doesn't feel like he has to justify it or explain it a whole lot. And I get that. I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, I have very good interactions with him online. But he did a video that does kind of point to this, to the other side of this article, which is this whole idea that this is the new future of everything. Well, what he did was he did a video about the leaks that were happening for Empire Strikes Back. And these were issues of Starlog magazine. You remember Starlog magazine?
I love Starlog magazine.
So he was quoting from Starlog magazine. And he started with an interview from David Prowse, and he went into some letters that were coming in from fans. And then they even had a quote unquote insider, unquoted insider, telling them plot leaks from Star Wars. And it was very interesting to hear what they were saying, because some of it was true and some of it wasn't. There was a lot of buzz about Boba Fett. There was a big story that Boba Fett was going to kill Han Solo. I don't know if you remember that at the time or not, but I was very young when Empire came out. But apparently there was this whole thing that Boba Fett was going to kill Han Solo because Harrison Ford didn't want to be in the movies anymore. Which, by the way, we know that's true, but that's not what happened, right? We know that Harrison Ford wanted Han Solo to actually die in Return of the Jedi. But there was this big rumor that because Harrison Ford didn't want to continue, he was going to die in Empire Strikes Back, and he's going to be killed by Boba Fett. But there were all sorts of other rumors. Now, what it turns out is, what the publicity guy for Lucasfilm at the time, he was responsible for most of these leaks. And what he was doing was he was deliberately mixing somewhat factual stuff with a bunch of BS to throw people off. So it was actually something specifically crafted by someone at Lucasfilm to basically put out disinformation mixed with real stuff to keep people guessing.
Was he also a secret KGB agent? Because that sounds like someone in the KGB to me.
Yeah, that's I used to say this in the political circles I ran in. That's a good a good psychological operation. You have to mix truth in with the fallacies, with the bad information, because that's the only way you have a good lie. You have to mix truth, and then what happens is people don't know what source to trust anymore. That's how you run a good psych operation. So you make sure that people now, they don't know who to trust anymore because they're hearing some stuff that's right, some of it's wrong. They don't know who to believe, blah, blah, blah. So my point is, with the future of everything, this is nothing new. Studios have been doing this for a long time. And I'll probably, when I re-edit this and stuff like that, I'll put in Junk Band's video so people can take a look at that and see how crazy those rumors were and how it all turned out to be coming from the publicity department of Lucasfilm, or at least a lot of them were. So I wonder with this if that could be something that's going on. There is sort of a conspiracy theory out there that this is misinformation from Disney to give JJ Abrams sympathy, because they are going to release a quote unquote director's cut of The Force Awakens when it comes out on Blu-ray. So not The Force Awakens, I'm sorry. I get them confused. I don't like the Disney trilogy. What are we on now? The Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker. So so there's a rumor that they're going to come out with a director's cut, and this is deliberate disinformation to give JJ some credibility and sympathy that, Disney screwed him and now we got to make this right and blah, blah, blah. Personally, as you talked about before, we know that films go through lots of reshoots. Rogue's One, pretty much there is like another movie of Rogue One. I mean, they went through huge reshoots. I was really disappointed because I'm a huge Rogue One fan, and I got like one of the best like Blu-ray editions, special editions. There's no deleted scenes on it. And it really disappointed me because we know that movie was almost completely redone. There were huge sections of that movie that were redone. And I'm just curious about it as a fan, not to rag on it, not to do anything else, because I like deleted scenes and I thought it would be cool to see what the original vision was and how it changed. Right. Because I liked the way it went, but I still like seeing how the other path was. We also know that the original Star Wars was supposedly saved in the editing room. Supposedly there were all sorts of issues with the original Star Wars, and a lot of people say that it was literally saved in the editing room. So there are countless different versions of that possibly. So again, this is kind of like, I take it as I said, this is kind of this could possibly be sort of a psych op, for a lack of a better term, deliberate misinformation. or it could just be some guy who sounds credible enough just to get some buzz going and wanted people to look at his Reddit. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I think could have been that too. But no, yeah, the misinformation thing's been going on since forever. And it's all over the place. It's in everything. Politics, you name it. It's everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I do think that this is interesting, you know, that in terms of a lot of people have been talking about it. I do think that there absolutely is at least one or two additional cuts of this movie that do exist. There's just no denying that. Any big movie, there's going to be alternate cuts, and I'd be interested to see them personally.
Right.
I should say the caveat. I would be interested to see them if I actually was interested in this movie anymore, which I'm not. But for those of you that are, I would think, oh, that's fine. I would like to see another cut. That'd be cool. You know, funny with like this obviously relates to kind of the Snyder cut because it's the same kind of buzz and the same kind of story in a lot of ways. I'm fine with Justice League the way it is. I own that, and I don't own like a ton of movies. So I own the Justice League because I really enjoyed that movie. I really liked it, and I guess I'm in the minority of DC fans that did. But I'm fine with releasing the Snyder cut. I didn't like what he did on Batman versus Superman. I don't like that movie. I could pretty much say I hate that movie. But you know what? I'm not a Snyder hater. I own Watchmen. I like that. I have 300. I love that. I own that. You know what I mean? So I feel like, you know, I'm just more of an independent thinker, and sometimes I'm going to like what you do. Sometimes I'm not. And I have specific reasons why I do or I don't. But I'm fine. Release all the cuts. Release all the deleted footage. You know what I mean? Go ahead. Because I think that's more fun, and I enjoy that stuff.
Okay. Yeah.